Welcome to Ditch Digger CEO, brother. Appreciate you being here.
Gary, it's an absolute pleasure. And Chris, thanks for having me. I have to admit, I am absolutely humbled. You know, I watch the podcast on occasion, and I can't believe I'm being added to the list of people that you've hosted so far. So, I mean, it means a lot to me.
You're awesome, buddy. Well, I appreciate that. You're going to be one of the people care to listen to the most, because I know a little bit about your story. But I can go back to the first time I met you. I think it was it was an event. Maybe you were just joining YPO, or was it a Chris Kraus event, mutual friends party? Which one was it that we first met?
I think it was with Chris, because Chris and I joined YPO about the same time. Mm-hmm. He was a little bit. We were in EO Forum together. Yes. And he launched a couple months before I did. So I bet it was with Chris.
Yeah, I sponsored.
I miss him being on the West Coast.
Yeah, I know. I sponsored Chris, and I met him at an event where EO and YPOers are invited to. And I had the blessing to sit next to him, and we hardly could listen to the speaker because we just were talking each other's ear off the whole time. Yeah. And by the end of the event, I'm like, man, you got to be in YPO. You're an overachiever, dude. You're going to do some great things. And his business is a little business, not quite big enough to be in YPO at the time. And now he would be a giant in YPO, right?
He really would. Yeah, it was amazing to be in forum with him, Gary, and watch him grow that business. I mean, literally every month we would go there for forum, and he'd have more space and more people, and it was awesome to watch.
Yeah. So and I've been blessed that I'm not supposed to do this, but I was a forum chair at the time, and I recruited him to be in a new forum that I was starting, and I've been blessed to be in a forum with him ever since. It's been so much fun to be his buddy and watch the way his mind thinks and how his business has blossomed to do so many cool things for so many people, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So Chuck, this is about you, and we'll come up with mutual friends here and there, probably stories, because we've got so many, but and many are former podcasts of ours. But I got to tell you, your story is a great one, and I want you to tell it. Starting from kind of, we love to hear, what started a person's mind to think they could have the gall, or the guts, or whatever you want to call it, right? To get into something on their own, right? What was your mindset as a kid and as a young adult and all that? So if you could tell us about your business, where you're at today, and then we want you to go into where Chuck calls work ethic came from and all that.
Sure. So I'm founder and CEO of Charles Hall Construction, a construction company that's focused nationally, but we try to stay in the upper Midwest, the Southeast, and the Mid-Atlantic. And we've been in and out of the Northeast over our 23-year history. We primarily focus on senior living, which is really where my passion is. In just the last year, Gary, I've added a partner and president of the business, Kevin McHaley. Kevin joined us last year as a part of the transition plan I've been working on the past almost 8 years now. And 5 years ago, a really good friend of mine, Chris Gay, founded Vitality Senior Living. And 3.5 years ago, I had a chance to buy out his founding partner. So now I'm chairman of Vitality. Chris is our CEO, and Blanding Beatty is our chief investment officer. He's the partner there. That's just been a rocket ride. It's fantastic partners. We've gone from 2 communities at our founding to 26 today. Whoa. And we just closed our first fund back in January, and the goal is to double the business again in the next 3 to 4 years.
Awesome. So you're overseeing 2 businesses, kind of, is that right?
Yeah. I am entering the phase I have dreamed about for the last literally 8 to 10 years. I'm leading leaders. Yes. And I'm taking the opportunity to take all of those hard knocks and scars and, pass along those gold nuggets to the leaders. So maybe they don't have to deal with those, and maybe they just get a little different, a little smarter.
How fun is that, right? I mean, I'm blessed to be in a situation kind of similar, right, with our small businesses, and it's so much fun, isn't it, to take the wisdom that you've gained and the shared experiences you've gained, right, and really mentor people that haven't seen the same experiences to make them stronger.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Such a blast, right?
It is.
And the rewards are incredible, right? If it works, but you're taking risk because sometimes it doesn't work. What's your feeling, Matt? How do you find the right partners? I guess is what my question. How do you find the right partners that you can be part of their leadership growth?
Our good friend Mike Maddock has a great saying. It's one of my favorites. It's show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I think I heard Mike say that maybe 15 years ago, and I've carried that ever since. And I believe firmly in that, Gary. It's, Chris is a partner now, a business partner, but we've been great friends for close to 20 years. He cut his teeth on the senior living operations side. I was cutting my teeth on the construction and development side of senior living. And one of my first deals was with him. And we stayed close, we stayed friends, our values aligned, everything you could want in a good friend, just were aligned through the years as we got married and raised our kids and that sort of thing. And I was his first phone call when he went out on his own to be his development partner, which meant the world to me, right? And then I was the first phone call to say, hey, I've got this opportunity that my partner wants out, would you come in? Kevin's much in the same way. I started a search about mid-2019. I was all ready to pull the trigger February of 2020 with recruiters. And I went through an exhaustive process of, defining what's the personality type, what are the behaviors, what are the cultural values I want to make sure aligned with our business approach and, in my personal approach to life. And I put it on hold, obviously, because of the pandemic. I woke up one day in May. I was done being downtrodden by the pandemic. I was done being told I couldn't do this or couldn't do that because of the pandemic. And I started the search on my own, calling friends, calling vendors, subcontractors, and Kevin floated to the surface, and he joined us in July, right? So in the middle of the pandemic, I was able to convince this gentleman, this incredible builder, to come join Hall and take over the reins. It was a pretty cool adventure there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know what? That saying, I always say, look at somebody's top 5 friends, right? And you're probably going to be looking at the person being the average of those top 5 friends, right? And I always told my kids that and everything else, but I love the way Mike says that, right? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? It's such a cool way to say it. And man, that's something I'm sure you tell your kids. And we should tell anybody that we're mentoring, right? Because it's a fact. And too often, we settle for friends or we settle for teammates. But really, there's nothing wrong with finding the most passionate people to be around you, right?
Right.
People that are that love what they do so much that they inspire you to be better than you'd be otherwise, right?
Yep.
That's what real leadership, in my opinion, is at, right? It's inspiring other people to be better than they might be if you weren't alive, right? That's what's fun in life if you can do that.
Legacy.
Yeah, it's a legacy, right? Because they live on with some of your shared experiences and some of your statements and the way you think. It's really cool. Yeah. Okay, so tell me about how you were raised, Chuck, and where and how you were raised and all that to become a guy that has been a leader in your industry and all in business.
So I was born and raised in Rhode Island, a little town called Barrington. Blessed to attend a fantastic public school and to be in an amazing class of people. I was never a great student. It always seemed like I had to work 2 or 3 times harder than everyone else in my class just to get average grades. But I've been blessed. Both my parents are still alive.
All right.
They were both entrepreneurs, and still are my whole life. Dad's focus was anything having to do with the water, there in Rhode Island. So marinas, moorings, docks, floats, clubhouses, that sort of thing. He was managing, building, developing, or something along those lines. and mom had always been in real estate. Has had and has now her own firm. And, dad's close to 83 and mom's I'm not allowed to say, but, she's close to that. And they both still dabble. And the biggest blessing they gave me was, learning to reach my own goals. And by reaching my own goals, that meant, their belief was their job is to make sure I'm in school, to make sure that I get my basics. But if I wanted new cleats, or if I wanted a new bike, or I wanted to do a trip, that was on me. And it was up. One of my favorite stories is Dad and I would get in the pickup truck, and on trash day, we'd drive around and we'd pick up lawnmowers. And I would take those lawnmowers and rebuild them with Dad's, because Dad could fix anything. And then I would walk around the neighborhood selling lawn mowing services. And then I'd go recruit my friends, and they'd do all the lawn cutting. And I provided all the equipment. But Dad was always there. Mom was always there. With Dad's marinas, we had a scuba diving business, my brother and I.
Wow.
My brother would tell you it was my first corporate takeover. Jared came up with an idea called Bottoms Up. Anything to do with scuba diving, salvage, civil cleaning, that kind of thing. Same thing, Jared and I did the selling. We would do most of the work, but at any time in high school, we had 3, 4, 5 of our friends, including our girlfriends, working with us.
Hey, that's a way to get to know your girlfriends too.
Yeah.
Underwater, hanging out underwater.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. But Dad was, Mom and Dad were always there. They made sure we had the right lessons. We had they never bought us anything new. It was, we had to build it ourselves, or we had to rebuild it, or we had to buy something secondhand. But, they always supported us in that way, so that it was, the teach a man to fish kind of thing, right? I was taught to fish early. I was taught to take care of myself early, and flash forward to.
Awesome. Well, let me tell you right there. Okay. You and I became buddies fast, because I think we think a lot alike. I was not academically gifted either. Right. But I love to learn, but just not in a conventional way, I guess. I find out later in life probably, but either way, I was able, I mowed lawns, I picked up I mowed lawns I gained my lawns by doing a newspaper route. I had a newspaper route paid me $6 a week, and I strived to get, $3, $4 a week in tips. And I would collect every 2 weeks and get, $6 to $10 in tips on those lawns. So 12 plus that. So either way, it wasn't big money, right? This was not big money. I don't think it was minimum wage at the time, right? But I'm 10 years old to 15 years old, right? And so I gained these lawns to mow it, but my deficit was I was not good mechanically. So I became friends with a friend of mine that was, and I mowed lawns, and I was using my customers' lawnmowers first. And if they break down, I'd get them fixed somehow for them. And I'd make anywhere from $4 to $7 a lawn. Anyway, but that was subcontracting. I didn't realize that what happened was I ended up getting friends of mine to mow lawns so I could do other things, right? So the subcontracting mentality you have and I have, right, that helped us grow our businesses was all right there, right? Those lessons were there without an education. It was just doing it, right? And then I think I talk about this. I got a new podcast song coming out, Chuck. Wait till you hear this thing. It's a new Ditch Digger CEO song. Kind of tells my story, but it could be a story of anybody that starts. It could be your story. But it's basically starting with a vision of who I was at 10. And my biggest money at 10 years old, or 10, 11, 12 years old, was not the lawns and not the paper routes, but it was diving in dumpsters for aluminum cans and recyclable bottles. We had 2 big marinas by my house. And on Friday nights, they would party heavy, right, in the summertime. On Saturdays, they party heavy. So Saturday mornings and Sunday were my harvest times. And I would be in the dumpsters, harvesting cans. And, I got laughed at. I got, kids my age saying, gross, it's gross. Right? Yeah. It was kind of gross. I guess I was in the middle of maggots and all kinds of crazy things, right? But either way, it was I made more money doing that than I did mowing lawns or doing the newspapers, right? And it was only 2 days a week. So either way, it's those lessons though that you had and I had that, I'm sure there's kids out there that still do this stuff, right? But just not enough of it. I think society looks upon these, people like that as, something less than they should be, right? And again, but I believe those lessons are the best. And again, when you think about your lesson there, right? How cool is that? You're fixing these mowers. You're setting up kids to mow lawns for you. That's awesome. And you became a general contractor. So it's like a fish in water as a general contractor. Hell yeah, you can't do everything. You got to hire people to do some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So okay, sorry to interrupt you, but I had to tell you, and my new Ditch Digger song explains that a little bit. It's kind of funny. I'm actually going to Nashville to finish it up Saturday. I'm spending all Saturday with the producer that's produced the music for the background. I wrote the song and I'm singing the song. I'm not saying it's a great song, but it's not bad, right, Chris? Right, Chris? Wait, Chris, you're not saying anything. Chris, is it okay or what?
Yeah, I was very impressed. Gary, you must have some great producers, my friend.
Yeah, so it's anyway, it's coming. Chris heard the rough draft that's been out there for last month, and I threw it around to friends of mine and give me an opinion as we're refining it on Saturday. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. But it's a story of entrepreneurship and building something in America that you can't do everywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, good for you, Chris. I can't wait to hear it. Oh, Gary, excuse me. I was thinking. Yeah.
So all right. Sorry about that. I'm sorry to cut you. I just had to say that's a great takeaway. That your work ethic and your parents who didn't have to make you work, they definitely could have said, "Oh, little Chuck, you know what? You just stay home and you take it easy. We don't want you to go through what we've had to go through to raise a family, right? You just take it easy." Instead, they said, "You get your ass to work, Chuck, and you make some of your own money, so you understand what it means, right?" Yeah, definitely.
It was. Elementary and middle school were not easy. I think today I probably would have been diagnosed as ADHD or something of that similar category. And the benefit was I was taught, right? I can make something of myself if I just got to find my path. And a big message I passed along to my kids, I learned early what my no's were, right? So I knew going in that if I wasn't good at something or it wasn't coming easy or it was coming difficult, I could say no and then go find something that was easier or I was more productive or, in some cases I made more money. And that was a big driver with our kids too, is helping them figure out what they don't want to do or what they're not good at so that they can be more focused on what they love and what they are good at. Another big lesson coming out of that. One of the hardest things that was a decision for me was leaving Rhode Island to go to school in Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati. I had worked with my dad. I could easily say since I could walk, but I was carrying a hammer probably by the age of 8. I was leading some crews for Dad by my early teens. And Dad always talked about taking over the family business. He always talked about, the oldest child, your responsibility is this and the responsibility of that. I'm his namesake. I'm the 4th. He's the 3rd. It's a factor of pride in our simple upbringing, but it was pride. And to look my dad in the eye and say, look, I'm transferring from a school in Rhode Island out to Cincinnati because I think it paints a better picture for me. It creates better opportunities. Gary, was the best thing I ever did. I joined a fraternity. I met Molly in Cincinnati, my wife now of 32 years. And it gave us a great base to kick off from when I graduated college with a construction management degree. Because I was on my own. I was out there I didn't know anyone. I had to go out there and kind of remake myself once I got there.
What made you pick Cincinnati University?
I started in Roger Williams College in Rhode Island in architecture. I always knew that I wanted to be a builder. I was the kid that was kicking off at job sites. I was the kid who was stealing lumber to build his tree forts and underground forts and, et cetera. I started in architecture knowing I wanted to be a builder, but as I got into design, I was playing soccer at school, and soccer and school in college, or soccer and architecture in school, they don't mix. There's too much, you need too much time behind the board. And they had just started a construction science program, which was essentially a part of the architecture program, a part of the business program, and then some construction courses weaved in. And I went from being, in high school and middle school, an average to below average student, to loving I mean, absolutely loving what I was studying. And, it was the science of putting buildings together.
Uh-huh.
And I made the dean's list, Gary, for the first time in my life.
Oh,
in
cool.
my it was the first semester of my sophomore year. And a professor pulled me aside and he said, look, you clearly love what you're doing. You really ought to look at some of these other schools that have a little more mature program. I applied to Wisconsin, Madison, Colorado School of Mines, Florida, a school in Florida, and Cincinnati. And I kid you not, Gary, the decision maker for me was Dad and I were in Cincinnati. We showed up for my interview. We got lost in downtown Cincinnati. And this gentleman in a business suit noticed we clearly were lost. He said, hey, you look lost. Can I help you? He walked us a couple of blocks to where we needed to be, chatted us up, had a nice conversation. I got done with my interview and I said, Dad, this is where I want to be. This feels like home. And,
Awesome.
I finished my college career there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then, and tell us about the, you met Molly there. What was Molly doing there? What was her passion?
Molly was a paralegal for her uncle's law firm. She graduated from University of Rhode Island, but we had never met. I knew her younger brother. She's a couple of years older. So I'm the entrepreneur, right? I'm putting myself through college at Roger Williams and now Cincinnati. I barely had 2 nickels to rub together. Here I am dating an older woman who's already graduated from college, absolutely drop dead beautiful. I didn't think I had a chance in hell.
She still is, by the way.
Thank you. I agree. And I won her heart. I used literally my last few dollars in my bank account to buy her some roses. She was dating a doctor and an attorney, and I won her heart with my last few dollars. And
that's
we were
awesome.
We were married a year and a half later.
That's one of your biggest wins, dude. Maybe your biggest, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. And then after school, where'd you go?
I took a job with Turner International in New York City, and it was really interesting. I knew I really wanted to work internationally. I had taken some coursework on international studies at Cincinnati. I had achieved my, in Great Britain, you have to be a certified builder. Like in the UK, and especially Great Britain, you have to be a certified accountant, a certified builder, a certified surveyor, which is an estimator. Well, by the time I achieved finishing school, I was a certified builder in the UK, and my goal was to go over and work either in the UK or Brussels. But we plan and God laughs, right? We had accepted the job with Turner, and Molly got pregnant with our son Chase. And Turner said, we're going to put you on ice while until your son's born. So I worked in New York City for Turner. I was basically cost, schedule, and estimating on projects in Dubai, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Kaohsiung. It was awesome. I worked with the world's best builders, Gary. I mean, it's just, you name it, they were the best at what they did. And I got to learn from them, early in my career.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so New York was where, but you were doing jobs all over the place, but out of New York, right?
Right.
And what type of jobs were?
I got tired of being a desk jockey, and I threatened to leave Turner if they didn't put me on a job site. So they transferred Molly and I, and now Chase, down to Memphis, Tennessee. I got to be on the team that built St. Jude's Hospital. So Danny Thomas's original pavilion, that his original project, we took, his dream to the next level. And, you talk about taking big steps in your life. I've got an infant and Molly back in New York. I had to go out ahead, and they put me right into one of the existing hospitals. So my job was punch list and finishing out the TI. So every day I'm around the administrators, the doctors, the nurses, and all these kids. And St. Jude is, their last chance. It's their last hope. And I would call home at night just almost in tears, because I've got a baby I can't hold in New York, and here I am helping finish a project that's caring for kids that may not live to see another day.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how I can make a difference in the world by putting bricks and sticks together. It was a pretty, it was a significant point in my life for sure.
Yeah, you know what? Learning compassion is it can happen all different ways, right? Whether it's somebody in your family that you've seen go through tough times, or been around people that are blessed to that feel blessed to have 20 years of life or 5 years of life, right? I mean, but I can't imagine how you had to take that and how you grew from that. But it's experience not many people are going to welcome, but for you. Your compassion has always been there. It's been very evident just to talk to you and hang out with you. You and Molly, and I'm sure some of that comes from that. And not your upbringing sounds like it was awesome. And you have compassionate parents, but those experiences in life like that really take it to another level, don't they?
Yeah. I also have to say about my childhood, I was really blessed to have a really close relationship with my brother and sister. And I can tell you, there's no one in the world I am more competitive with than my brother. We talk he's in Rhode Island, I'm obviously here, and we have a scheduled call every Saturday morning, and we use the hour to an hour and a half to catch up, touch base, laugh a little, vent a little. But I am, similar with my sister. She's 9 years younger, so it's a little different relationship. But again, I've tried to model what my parents taught me about the importance of family, the importance of how family can help each other. We've tried to model that with our kids, and knock on wood, we're pretty successful there too.
It's awesome. No, that's what life's about, right? And
Yeah.
You don't realize how important that is until really tough times come about. So I mean, I think that doing that work and that maintenance all ahead of time, like you are, is awesome, because you know your family better than a lot of people know their own family. And we can all. I love a scheduled call with a family member. I don't do enough of that, but boy, you know what? When you think about it, in the end, life is short, and why not? A scheduled call with every family member that will listen to you or talk to you or talk to you, right? And there's maybe not all, but that's cool.
I'm a firm believer, Gary. In life, we can write our own story. Through EO and YPO, I had the great benefit to participate in the Stagen program. Rand Stagen founded it. He's a YPO out of Dallas. And it's a leadership program. And, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about being, a great person, and you learn about being a great leader. And in that program, this was 15 years ago now, we learned a couple of buddies and I, we derived this notion of a life by design. And literally every Monday, with very few exceptions, from 8:15 to 9:15, I'm on a call with 3 other gentlemen for the last 14 plus years, and every week we're talking about our life by design. Literally, every year each of us takes a turn in updating our life by design. What's our 5-year, 10-year, 15-year goal? What are our core values? What's our purpose? What's our vision? And we hold each other accountable to that.
I love it.
I try to bring that to, if I'm working with a business leader, if I'm working with a good friend, or, if I'm just visiting with my brother or sister, I believe very strongly we can write our own story. We just got to be willing to set the plan and be disciplined enough to work the plan.
You know what? And, you can do, some people think about this stuff. You read a book, you might do this on your own, right? But, it's way better, in my opinion, my humble opinion, right? It's way better when you take a couple of people that you care about, that care about you, and you go over that, maintain that, like you're saying, whether it's once a week, once a month, whatever it is, right? Because they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to question things that are in your blind spot, and it's going to be way more productive when you do what you're doing. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like that phrase. Write your own story.
Yeah, I love that phrase, Gary. Blind spot. Who but your best friends can help you see that blind spot? Molly is key. She is. I'm lucky to have a spouse who's my best friend and willing to give me the slap in the back of the head when I need it. We all do. And I'm blessed to have 4 mates and this Monday Morning Life by Design group who we look out for each other, right? Those blind spots, if you're not careful, they can ruin your life.
100%. I agree. That's awesome. I think that's a huge takeaway from this conversation that Chris is going to pick up at the end, because that's a big one. And I think we all do a little bit of that naturally, but to do it in an organized way, way better, way better. That's cool. Yeah. So tell us about the business growth. Like we think about your business. You were in business at this point. You're working for somebody. When did you get this notion that you could do something on your own?
It was forced upon me. I was working for someone else's company. I had been put in a position to help start an office in Chicago for somebody, a YPO, Bob Clark, who I'm blessed to have worked for. And I thank him every time I see him, and that's probably once or twice a year at some YPO event, that he fired me. I joined Clayco with an ego that could barely fit through a double wide door. I had some great successes. I had been published in an ENR and some other, trade art publications. And when Bob brought me on board, looking back, Gary, my ego was horrible. I probably was not a good person to be working with. Not probably, I wasn't. And I had to make a choice, right? So I now have Chase is probably 4 or 5, Sarah's 1 or 2. We have a house, we've got a couple cars, you got the mortgage, we're living in Clarendon Hills. And I'll never forget it. I drove home from St. Louis, talking to Molly about what are we going to do? We got to sell everything. And, I'm lucky that I've had some great mentors in my life. And this is really where they started to show up for me. We now we have a house in a community, Leland, Michigan. It's a lake community up here. And there's a lot of, great entrepreneurs and business founders up here. And I got up here right away and sought their counsel. Molly's dad was fantastic. He had been, he had had several experiences where he had been laid off or fired, and he counseled me to calm down and take some time, and you'd be okay. But my favorite conversation, Gary, was with Dick Gettle from Cincinnati. Dick founded Gettle Construction, big foundation company out of there, and he's our neighbor on the lake here. And Dick sat me down on the lawn. We're looking at the lake. It's in the evening. I think we had probably a cocktail in front of us. And, Dick looked me in the eye and he said, "Look, Hall, you're either going to fucking do this or you're not. You've been talking about being an entrepreneur ever since I met you. Now is your time. And if you don't do it now, I don't want to ever, ever hear about it again." Yes, sir. And I marched off and put a plan together and figured it out and pretty much launched from there. And that was Hall. So I founded Charles Hall Construction that would have been September, October of 98.
So he basically said, it's time now to shit or go off the pot.
Exactly. Yeah.
As we used to say in the old days.
And we need, I think we all need the nudge out of the nest, whatever phrase you want to use, but all of us need nudges in life. And how was it, so I mentioned that phase at St. Jude, which is pretty critical to my career. Here I am many years later, sitting on the lawn with Dick Gettle, helping make another life-changing decision. And I'm grateful for those mentors. And I've had many along the years. And Dick really stands out as one of being one of the greats.
So starting that, did you have to go out and raise money? Did you have a little bit of money saved? Tell us about that.
Gary, we had with this new job at Clayco, we had just bought a house. I had a couple of new cars. And I think I literally had $6,000 in the bank, cash, right? So not a whole lot of savings. We had some money. We'd always been really good savers for 401k and the long-term stuff. And, I'm sure like you, I just started beating the bushes, and I picked up the phone and I was on the phone all day long. And I picked up my first, a couple small deals here, kept the paycheck coming in. We saved everything we made. And then it was about a year, maybe 8 months in, Enron was really picking up steam, right? And they had just opened a Chicago office. and a really good friend and neighbor was hired to lead the Chicago office. And we're at the playground, the kids are playing together, and I'm mentioning what I'm doing and what my background is. And he said, hey, we need a construction management firm to help us with some initiatives that we're going to bring forth here in the Midwest. Why don't you interview for it? Put together a package, interview for it. And I get this call from Kansas City. Hey, Hall, we're coming up to interview you with the executive team. Well, Gary, at this point, I'm in an executive office suite. So it's one of the shared office suites. My dad he's working with me. He's flown in from Rhode Island and he's helping me do these jobs and, this and that and get things organized. I'm leveraging a couple of startup subcontractor friends, and we're helping each other get started. Nesco.
Where's your office at this time, Chuck?
We were in, so there's a funny story. I started in the basement of the house. 3 months
in Michigan.
In Clarendon Hills, Illinois.
Oh, okay, Clarendon Hills. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm probably 2 or 3 months in. Molly shows up, walks down the basement stairs, and hands me a key. And she said, "We're moving you into your office tomorrow." Because I got little babies running around the house, and they know Dad's in the basement, and I'm screaming, everyone be quiet because I'm on the phone. And she says, "Here's your office," and it was a shared office suite over in Oak Brook Terrace. So anyway, Enron shows up in this executive office suite, and I have the entire executive office suite acting as if they are working with me or for me. My dad is there, my mom is there, my subcontractor buddies are, in the various offices, and we got all the plans out for this deal that we're interviewing for. I think the executive team was in the office all of 5 minutes.
So wait, hold on. Did you introduce your mom and dad as this is by their first name, or did you say this is my mom, this is my dad, this is my aunt, uncle? No, why did you do that?
Yeah, I've always been really straightforward, calling a spade a spade, right, Gary? It's just like, hey, this is my team. My dad helped me get things started. My mom's been helping me administratively, and it played really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. A quick side story. Dad worked for me for a while, for years, and we built a really good book of business on the East Coast. And we were building a deal in New Hampshire. The investors, the client, everyone was on site, and Dad was there. And what do I do when I see Dad for the first time in days or weeks? We walk up and we give each other a big old bear hug. I don't care if it's a job site, it's a restaurant, whatever.
Oh.
And this entourage walks on site, and I leave the entourage. I walk over and give Dad a hug. When I see those gentlemen to this day, so this is 15 years later, when I see those gentlemen, the first thing they always mention is that hug with my dad.
That's awesome.
That's who I am.
So my son, he's 33, right? Austin's running all the businesses nowadays, and he's an amazing young leader. And when I went home to be with Cheryl a year and a half ago, my board said, he's the guy, you got to give him a shot. And he took it, right? And he was running a company doing great, in a company that we got probably be our most valuable company 10 years from now that he was building. But bottom line is, he took it, ran with it, but it's the same as if I see him, I'm always going to give him, I don't care who's in the room, what we're talking about. If I first see him, I'm always giving him a big hug and a kiss, actually a kiss on the cheek too, which is, he's okay with. The good thing is he's okay with it, right?
Yeah.
And my daughters are the same way, and that's just who I am, and that's who we are, and that's who you are. But you only have so much time on this planet, and if you can't give those loved ones, a hug when you see them, but whether they're family or your friends, either way, man, you're missing out part of life, right?
Well, as leaders, I feel it's our role to walk the talk, right? Mm-hmm. So my talk is family is number one. So if I'm walking the talk is one of my core values, if Sarah, my daughter, calls, everybody who knows me knows I'm going to interrupt a meeting or stop a call to take her call. Chase, the same with Chase and the same with Molly, family's family, right? So if I'm preaching to my team that family's first, I need to practice that. And
your family knows.
I do it because I love to.
And your family, is not to call you every 5 minutes. I mean, they call you when they need something. When they're calling, there's something important they got, right? And that's the same with us. We think the same thing. That's You're exactly right. And sometimes people think that in supporting family values, you lose money in your business because, man, I just can't let that guy go home to coach his kids every Thursday or Friday or 3 days a week. I can't. But you know what? My opinion, the culture you build by promoting those things is impierceable, right? Compared to those people that you're on a clock, man. No, you can't go. You coach your kid after work. Coach your, I mean, again, those things are so important. If we can, but if you go home to coach your kid and you don't let your teammates do that, boy, you sure don't look like much of a leader, do you?
That's right. To that very point, Gary, our second office was in downtown Clarendon Hills, specifically so I could be closer to the kids. And one of my favorite things at that time is the kids would get out of elementary school. They could walk 2 blocks into downtown Clarendon Hills, come visit the office. They both had jobs, taking out trash, emptying trash buckets, cleaning desks, that kind of thing. They got a little bit of they got some in return, they got paid. And then Chase would go to the local bakery and buy a loaf of bread as a snack. And Sarah would go to the candy store with her girlfriends. But I was there, right? So when the kids got out of school, they knew they could go see dad, they could earn a little bit of money and then hang out with their friends or go do homework.
How nice is that, right? Advantages of being, doing your own thing and being an entrepreneur are those things that you can do to customize your business, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that. So you're back. Clarendon Hills. When did you go to that second office? Was that early 2000s or when was that? That new office close to your house.
We probably moved to Clarendon Hills about 2 years into the business. Again, it was the basement of Pinnacle Bank there in Clarendon Hills.
Yep.
We ended up taking enough space. We had our team. So in the first 2 years, I think we grew to about 28 employees. And then we had another 10 or 15 Enron employees in the office with us because of this big program that we were working on. Mm-hmm. And then I think we were there in Clarendon Hills for a good 10 years until we outgrew that space. And then we moved down to Plainfield Road in 83, just south of Clarendon Hills. And then we ended up in in Westmont, just south of Oak Brook. Yep. But I'll tell you now, Gary, we're virtual on the construction side. We subleased, we had about 14,000 square feet of office. We had everyone on job sites. We had most leaders, working from home because of the pandemic. And I couldn't believe it, but I got an offer from someone to sublease our entire space, and I jumped at it.
You lucky dog.
I'm not kidding, Gary. We had it on the market for a good 6 months, 7 months with not a single look. And in walks Crash Champions. They loved our space. We designed and built it ourselves. And they took over the space in January, and we've been virtual. And I plan to be virtual for a little while longer.
Well, good for you. Yeah, I mean, I think some businesses works great for us, some not, and we're experiencing where a few of our business it's great for it, and many of ours it's not, right? So some of it's a mixed bag, right, with positions that are virtual and positions that are not, but you got to figure that out for your own business and culture that you have to drive, right? Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And ultimately, the corporate office will end up in Brentwood with Vitality.
Where's Brentwood? Where?
Brentwood, Tennessee.
Okay, Brentwood, Tennessee. Okay, so tell us about the growth of the business and how you guys measure growth in your business, growth and success. How do you measure, the growth in your company, whether it's people, revenues, whatever, and where you started, where you've come, and where you're going.
So we started, and again, this Life by Design concept, I worked to keep the business right around 30 million. Some years we were over, some years we were under for a bunch of years. And, we focused on repeat business. My catch line was multiple projects over multiple regions with the same client. So we focused on the REITs, we focused on the big development clients, the big corporate clients. I wanted to be the best at what we did, rather than being something to everybody.
Yep. Wait, why don't you say it one more time? Multiple projects, what you said?
Multiple projects over multiple regions for the same client.
Over multiple regions for the same clients.
Right.
Okay, now, what percentage would your customers be of your business? So let's say how many customers do you have over that when you're doing 30 million?
So we would average 5 to 6 different clients over those years in any given year. And they ranged, we started off doing a lot of self-storage. We had several years, Gary, nationally, we did about 1 million square feet of self-storage.
I can remember that. Yeah.
And the deal was find someone who was willing to put together a prototype and then roll that prototype out across, multiple projects over multiple regions.
Yep.
So we're building the same thing over and over. We get the lessons learned on the first one, and then we're taking the golden nuggets from the next, for the next deals, and then just rolling that, the lessons learned forward. And we did that self-storage for probably, 3, 4, 5 years, and then I got introduced to senior living in that time frame, and I found my passion, Gary. It harkened back to my memories at St. Jude because I was building something where we were making a difference. It followed my notion of, develop a design concept that is repeatable and then repeat that design concept on just different sites in different locations. And then in about my 10th year of business, I got to start to co-invest in deals. That was another big aha. So now I'm getting to build something I'm very passionate about because it's not only what we put in bricks and sticks together, but we're making a difference in other people's lives, the people that live there and the people that work there. And now I'm starting to get to Molly and I are starting to get to co-invest in the deals. And it's like, holy cow, we're really onto something here, right? If I can be an investor, I can be an owner, and I can get to be the builder, and then I get the residual income on the backside or on the flip.
Yep.
Amazing. And
when did that start? I can't remember talking about that, Chuck, when you're first really excited about that. Was that the 2005, 10 area, something like that?
Yeah, it would have been around 2004, 2005. We were just hitting our stride when the big financial crisis hit in 2008. And, believe it or not, by working so hard to be a specialist at what we do in a particular market, we raised our fees, we got deeper, we had better market penetration with more clients in more regions through the financial crisis. Now, our revenue shrunk because banks weren't lending, but we took building new projects and we took those relationships into renovating existing 20, 30-year-old communities. Because we had all these lessons learned about what's best for the resident, what's best for the caregivers, what's best for the investors. And then we just turned that into the existing buildings. They still had the same business premise. Mm-hmm. We could apply all that. I think at one point we were in almost all of Brookdale's buildings on the East Coast, from Connecticut to Maine, renovating, fixing, doing something like that.
So 2008, 9, 10, you got through it all because of the niche you established over a few year period before that, right? I mean, and you're blessed you went that direction, right?
Very blessed. The next big pivotal moment was in 2013. So we're coming to the tail end of that, that crisis. And the client that I had at the time, we had a deal. I had the opportunity to be an investor in it. And we're sitting across the table from the bank, and the bank retrades us on the day we're closing the loan. So who does everyone look to on the retrade? But of course, the builder. You're going to have to figure out how to save $1 million on the project. Oh, and still deliver what it is you said you would deliver. And we as partners looked at each other and, okay, we're in. Let's go do it. Huh. And it launched us into the next growth cycle, where Molly and I doubled down on senior living as a construction company. We doubled down as investors, and really, things really started to take off for us. So you go from 14, coming out of the crisis, to 18, we grew the business to about 100 million in top line revenue. And I have to tell you, Gary, I was miserable. We got out of our lane. We weren't doing what we were experts in. Those 20 to $40 million size projects where, as the owner leader, I could get my arms around the 5 or 6 deals we had going on at any one time, to doing 60 to $80 million projects where I had to have, executive leadership, senior leadership, project manager leadership, all in one project. And I wasn't now interfacing with partners. I was interfacing with investors who had representatives and those representatives had, some punk on the job site, thinking they know everything about everything, trying to run, tell us how to build buildings. And I was miserable. So we had one project go south on us in New Jersey. Fortunately, I was doing the deal with a fellow YPOer as a JV partner. And, I picked myself up by the bootstraps, and I made the conscious decision that I would be very happy having a $50 to $60 million business where the majority of the deals I can co-invest in. I can have a relationship with the partners. And this was the biggest aha in my career. Was now I started to focus on, and this would have been right around 14 or 15, I had the idea, but it really started to sink in 18, of a vertically integrated business where we could find the sites, buy the buildings, build the buildings, be an owner in building the building, and be an owner in the care of the residents in those buildings, in those communities.
Huh.
It's like, my mission was set. And then flash forward a couple of years, Chris Gay calls me. Chris is leaving Brookdale to go out on his own. He's got the West family backing him, the West Family Fund backing him to start his own senior living business. And he says, "Hey, Chuck, I want you to be my development partner in the Midwest." Great, Chris, I'm in. Again, that aligned with my life by design. I'm working with a really good friend, someone I trust, someone whose core values align with mine, and family, not only business, but family core values align with mine. And I'm in, let's go, let's see what we can do. Flash forward a couple more years. So this would be 3 years ago. Chris says, phone call, "Hey, Chuck, Mr. West has decided he wants to start to divest his holdings from the family fund, and he wants out of Vitality. I'd love for you to be my partner." I think we closed that deal within 4 or 5 weeks, getting Mr. West out so I could buy in. It was a lot of fun, Gary. We had 2 communities in Texas. And then Chris comes back from a breakfast. So Chris is in Brentwood, I'm in Chicago, and he says, "Chuck, you're not going to believe this. I just met a guy, Blanding Beatty. Blanding has his own senior living business. They've got 7 communities. They're really strong developers. They're really strong at raising equity and debt. I think we should partner with them." I said, "Chris, you're nuts. We just got our deal done 3 months ago." So, 3 months later, we merge. It's a human capital merger, bringing the 2 companies together because the alignment was just perfect with the team they had and the team we had. So now we have 9 properties. Flash forward 3 years, we are 26 communities. I think we're just past 1,800 employees and about 2x that in residents. Our goal is to get to somewhere between 40 and 50 communities. And to be still primarily focused in the southeast, but in the Midwest as well. And we measure success there at the team level, at the resident level, and the corporate level, in that order.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You think about the momentum and how that works. I mean, people think a lot of this stuff happens overnight. I think there's, a few different industries where, technology or whatever, you can create, crazy opportunity and wealth overnight. But you look at all the wisdom that you had to you had to really create, right? Or that was created in you and gave you the ability to, number one, understand, where your passion lies first. Second, where your niches are, right? And you kind of do business for kind of anybody when you start, and just look at revenues and dollars and numbers. And then as you grow in wisdom more, who are the people that you could partner with culturally, right? And then that turns into, this hockey stick approach in many cases like yours, right? You're kind of growing. All of a sudden you got these opportunities with great people and great processes and, it's just great partnerships. And now it's a hockey stick approach where you're really growing nicely because of the wisdom gain, the relationships gain, and the niche knowledge gain of what's in your wheelhouse, right?
Right.
So all the stuff you learned in the past all kind of adds up to, where you've gotten today. And it's really cool to think, that hey, you're a builder, and in building, you establish this passion for, people and doing work in a place where, you see, families and individuals being nurtured, right? And then you find your space there, which is cool. And then you say, okay, in that space, doesn't mean you still hit your niche, right? You're serving the end customer, maybe you like, but maybe it's not quite the niche. And you've calibrated that now. And so it's so fun, right? And now for you, like as you're doing, now it's a matter of grooming leaders to lead with the help of yours and anybody else you can find that could be the inspirational wisdom leaders that can continue to mentor them, right?
Right.
And how many people can you mentor to lead on your behalf and others, right? Now that's kind of your challenge going forward. And just like your dad and your mom, right? I mean, how fun is it to do that? And how much younger do you feel than your friends? Because you and I have friends our age that are retired, right? They may be enjoying life fishing or doing whatever. But man, my friends that are engaged in business in their 80s and 90s, I have friends that are 90s engaged in business in a big way still, right? How much fun is it to be around them? Yeah. Compared to our friends that are in their 50s or that are retired and they're fishing, golfing, whatever. Right. And so either way, I know you and your wisdom's gonna be shared so many times over in the future. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Gary, building on that hockey stick idea, I see my role now as I love working with partners or entrepreneurs who are on the steep end of that hockey stick and helping them see they have two choices. They can plane off and ride it, or they can help me help another leader relaunch, right? So you relaunch that S-curve off of the work you've already done. And when you're a mentor or you're leading leaders, I see my role as helping people figure out, do you want to plane off, or do you want to continue to grow on this new hockey stick we can create together or through new partnerships? And I love that. I just get so much energy from it.
Yeah, it's kind of you discover what's their appetite, right?
Right.
And some people don't want to continue to climb in that hockey stick, right? And other people, want that, or they don't feel like they're challenged enough.
Right.
That's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
So nowadays, your goal. Tell us some more about your future. What are your goals, and then where are you going? You're liking that Tennessee market and that section of the country right now.
Yeah, we really are. So we sold the house in Illinois we closed in December, and we moved into the lake house, Leland Cottage, right away. We'll live here until we get the house built in Nashville, and we'll split our time between Leland and Nashville. And my role is chairman at Vitality and CEO at Hall. And, my passion now is helping its legacy, right? It's about making sure that the business lives beyond me. It lives beyond the Chuck Hall name, and the next leader can create his or her own legacy. So I can do that, just like we're doing here. I can do that remotely with Zoom meetings, and, having a home down in Nashville and being closer to the Brentwood office. I can be there, when I need to or want to. And that's all part of, this life by design concept I've been following, Gary. I'm now working really hard so that the businesses live long after, my interest or my life is there.
That's cool. Okay, so tell me this: Illinois compared to Tennessee. Why Tennessee? Why not Illinois? Tell us a little bit about that. As I'm stepping into this political world and running for governor coming up. But I know a lot of our answers and your answers, but I don't know them all. Share with me, why not more investment in Illinois, and why putting your chips in a Tennessee basket?
So I think it relates directly to my life story, Gary. I'm an entrepreneur. I invest in people, and I invest in the places I think I'm going to get the best return for my family and for my partners and for our teammates. And I see the Southeast, particularly Tennessee right now, as a great place to invest personally and professionally. I think leadership aligns, I think businesses align, and I think the core values and the culture aligns really well. I think from I'm pretty conservative fiscally, and I would say middle of the road socially. I believe our taxes are to be used for the good of the people. I think our leaders are there to benefit us as a country. And that's part of my investment strategy. I'm going to invest where the vision of those state leaders and our federal leaders are walking the talk.
Yeah.
To me, it's that simple.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I'm disheartened by my friends like you, leaving Illinois, choosing greener pastures, but I admire. I know who you are, admire who you are, and I understand why. Right? You weren't born in Illinois, so yeah, you've been here a long time, but you weren't born here. For me, I was born here. I've started all my businesses here. Right? I'm really disheartened at the direction of Illinois, and so I'm stepping up now because of that. Right? But again, I'm actually going to Tennessee, this weekend. Like I said, I'm going to be finalizing the recording of Ditch Digger Seal song that I've got. It's going to be a lot of fun for the day. But overall, I have a lot of many friends that move there. I mean, I don't have to, I don't have to get a hotel because I got not that I want to sponge on people and sleep on people's couches or guest rooms, but I probably got 20 friends now that are down there. And anytime, all of them will say, "Hey, you're down, you better stay with me," right? Well, so I'm going to stay with a buddy of mine down there and his wife. But boy, I tell you what, it makes me sad to think so many of my friends are going there, and I know why. It's a cool place. It's a booming place. The thing is, it's amazing that little Tennessee, is kicking the crap out of big Illinois, the world-class state and the world-class city of Chicago is getting their ass kicked by little Nashville, Tennessee, right? But that's what happens in this world when a person, a society, a state becomes complacent, right? And rest on their laurels that we're big time Chicago and Illinois. We can tax people as much as we want. They're not going anywhere, right? Well, as you know better than anybody, you will go places where you're treated better. And so either way. I respect what you're doing, and I like Tennessee also. But I want to tell your story of why, right? And many of my friends, their story of why they're not in Illinois or why they're moving out of Illinois, because unless people understand the reason why 50,000 jobs are leaving a year, we're just not going to stop the bleeding, right? Yeah. So we have to understand the problem and the cause.
I want to be clear, Gary. I am deeply invested currently in Illinois with the communities I'm a partner in. Right?
Yeah.
And we're going to maintain an office, a virtual office, and we'll eventually get back into a regular office. And we will have a regional office in Illinois. But I've always believed I want to invest a small amount in a lot of deals, not a large amount in one deal. So I'm following the premises, that I've been successful with. I am spreading us into an area of the country that I believe has better growth opportunities for our business plan, our life by design, than I currently see in Illinois right now. Yeah. And mind you, I could not imagine a better place to raise our children than Clarendon Hills, Illinois. Yep. My favorite city in the world is Chicago. the arts, the culture, everything that Chicago has to offer. Just, the leadership, it hurts me that some of the decisions they choose to make at the expense of people like you and I who risk everything every single day to try to make it better for our employees, to try to make it better for our families. And that's disheartening to me.
Yeah. And again, there's so much opportunity. So within a few years, dude, you're going to be back. You're going to say, Rabine, I like what you guys, that team is doing in Illinois. I'm coming back. Where do you recommend? I'm going to be able to recommend all different places around the city that you should consider the most aggressive, welcoming, loving mentality in government, right?
I love it.
And again, I look at it as, hey, I love Illinois, and I've always felt that Illinois loved me up until about 2008, 9. From 2008 on, right? We never got back to who we've been as a competitive state, competitive taxation-wise, competitive regulation-wise. We've never gotten back to that. We seem to double down on more taxes, more regulations, as the rest of the country has gotten, much of the rest of the country, like the Tennessees and the Floridas and the Texases and Arizonas, have gotten more aggressive in welcoming, people that are job creators instead of, chase them away. So yeah, I'm very passionate about that subject, as you probably can imagine. So I'm listening to every friend I have like you to say, how do we get you back to invest in Illinois bigger than ever? And that's what I'm going to continue to be thinking about. So,
Gary, it's easy. Illinois, where we raised the kids, family values, great people, people with good core values, people who get, the notion that you and I have been talking about today. Molly and I have our hearts there for sure. And I believe it's still there in many, many people. It's going to take leadership like, people like yourself who are willing to sacrifice and step up and make hard decisions. And I'm grateful that you're willing to do that, Gary. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun ride, and it shouldn't be easy, because if it was, anybody could do it.
Yeah.
And I'll probably get beat up, and I've been beat up before, so that's why I look the way I do. So for me, it's it'll be easier than most, maybe, right? So
yeah,
it'll be fun. So hey, when you look at mentoring your kids, what would you tell your kids? And your kids are now in their 20s, by Chase and Sarah, right?
Chase is 30. I just got married New Year's Eve to Dr. Mackenzie Roddy Hall now. Mackenzie is a fantastic daughter-in-law. We're really excited to have her in the family. Sarah's 25 and she's out in Denver. Sarah got stuck in one of the middle of the riots walking her dog. And I'll never forget, she called in tears and she said, Dad, I'm done. I cannot live downtown anymore. And she convinced a couple of her good friends, and they moved out to Denver. And I'm really lucky, Gary. Both kids work for YPOers. Chase works for Shore Capital, and Sarah's working for Medics.
Where's Sarah working?
Medics, Andrew Lamoris's company.
Oh, Andrew. I love Andrew. I'm going to meet with him coming up.
Yeah. And both kids have participated in the kids programs through the years, especially Sarah. Sarah's really engaged in the YNG program. And Chase and Mackenzie live in Nashville now, so that's a big draw from me and Molly, right?
Yeah.
They're newlyweds, and knock on wood, we'll see some grandkids someday. So that's a good draw there too.
That's awesome. We have 2 grandkids and one more on the way. And what a blessing there.
Yeah.
I got to. Yeah. And so, okay. So what would you tell your kids as far as, as far as their lives going forward and your grandkids? What's one major message you would want them to know that you want to make sure you pass on to them?
Well, it goes back to the theme of our conversation today is you are able, you are capable, you have the tools to write your own story. It's your choice. And I believe Molly and I have prepared the kids for that. And I really feel like they're living that, Gary, in their own way right now. Sarah making the decision to, find somewhere that was less chaotic for her. and convince her employer to let her transfer and work remotely. And similarly with Chase. Chase, this is one of my favorite stories. Chase graduated DePaul down in Indiana, Greencastle, Indiana, with basically a journalism degree. Then went to work for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Had a great run with them. He got promoted all the way up to being director of strategic planning at the age of like 28. And he called one day and he said, I really want to get involved with either private banking or private equity, one of the two. And we used I introduced him to some YPO friends to do some mentoring and, some coaching and that sort of thing. And Gary, he got accepted to a couple of MBA schools. One was going to give him a full ride, complete full ride for an MBA. And then he got an offer from Shore Capital. And I'm like, dude, this job offer from Shore is what you would be working for if you went for your MBA. You got to go for that.
That's right. That's right.
And, Chase is the kind of kid, we raised our kids to be willing to work for anything that they were, trying to achieve. Chase read every book he could get his hands on. He talked to every person he could, that would listen to him or, he could ask questions to, and he taught himself private equity. Now he's 3+ years into the firm and he's doing really well. And, I think he's got a great future.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, knowing what you want like that and to make that move like that was awesome. And what a fun place to be in private equities in the world that it is today. I've got, you and I have a bunch of friends who are involved in that. To see kids, young people like Chase to get involved and understand that world is pretty cool.
Yeah. And both kids are involved with healthcare in their own way. Shore focuses on purchasing healthcare businesses and Sarah's the medics, they're focused on healthcare staffing. And, so in their own way, I still daydream about being in business with the kids some way, somehow, whether it's helping them start their own or, whatever that could be. And, that's another part of my story I hope fulfills itself.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want, you have your kids, either your kids reach out to mine, and I've got 2 kids that are actually 3 now, my youngest 2 now, but Austin runs our company, does an amazing job. He's a really good kid. And he loves networking with other young people, talking about what he's doing. So if they aspire to do something like he's doing, that's great. Janelle runs one of our companies. My 31-year-old daughter runs one of our companies, our national company. She's going to be buying the majority of that from us, and she's going to become the majority partner in the coming year or so. She's going to be a woman-owned business. She's never, her deal was really, people tell her you can just start a woman-owned business. So you got your, all this natural business, and she said no. I mean, not until I can really understand the business would I ever do that. And so she's spent the last 6-7 years in all different aspects of our industry serving facilities owners. And now she's going to make this jump, but she's going to deliver value, and she's going to be a real majority partner that's buying in on her own, and she'll do great, right? But anyway, so hers she's a different type of leader, but a really compassionate person, and she'll do great. And then my daughter Jordan is my chief of staff for my campaign coming up. She's an attorney. She was an attorney for Ernst & Young on the regulatory side, federal regulatory side of big corporations. And so she's sharp as can be. She's awesome. And Jordan's going to do amazing stuff with me. And after she's done helping me out for sure. She's got 2 kids, 1 on the way. So we got 2 grandkids and 1 on the way. And then Nick, 20-year-old, works in our businesses. He's doing asphalt paving, concrete paving, all the dirtiest jobs and the lowest paid jobs is what he's been doing for the last few years. He's going to continue to do that for a while. But he's the one. Nick is the kid we adopted from Russia. Wow. Great kid. Really blessed that this kid has come as far as he has. But he's going to be a gem for so many people in the future because the way he lives life with a big smile on his face and his work ethic's incredible. So either way, but either way, I think getting our kids, with what you've done, YNG and YPO is important, and getting these kids to meet with people that they aspire to be like or just want to learn from, and whether they're the same age or they're a couple generations away. But that's the blessing of YPO. And we mention YPO a lot in this podcast because a lot of my friends that get on here are YPOers. But what a great organization, Young Presidents Organization is when you can really mentor younger YPOers, learn from older YPOers or YPOers younger than you even, right? And you can aspire to do things a little differently as you hear all the cool stories of how people built what they built, right?
Yeah. A quick fun YPO story, Gary. So it's March last year. I had just joined the Healthcare Business Network, because I'm now really getting deep into the senior living and the healthcare side of business. And the pandemic hits, and I leveraged YPO to help. I reached out to anyone I went through the entire YPO directory who was involved in skilled nursing, assisted living, or, healthcare geriatric focused. And I pulled together a list of about 20 YPO members, turned that into a every week for an hour and 15-minute forum. 14 of us got on the phone call, top 1%, bottom 1%, and we created a parking lot. So we'd spend, 14 healthcare focused business owners would focus on what's working, what's not working as we wade into this pandemic. And then we'd come up with a theme of topics that we would park a lot and help each other solve the issues. It was absolutely amazing, a godsend. I mean, just, with everything that was getting thrown at all of us as business owners, as parents, whatever category you want to put us in, to have a group of leaders now every week for an hour and 15 minutes talking each other through, the war we were all in. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. And next week will be our first full monthly forum type format where we'll do a true 3-hour meeting with all 14 of us. Should be pretty awesome.
That's cool. And Chuck, I talk about unfair advantages in life, right? We can create those, right? You can, like you said, you can make your own story, but the unfair advantages are something we should pay attention to. And, sometimes we're blessed with great parents and that's an unfair advantage. Sometimes we marry up like you did and I did, right? And that's a huge unfair advantage, right? Yeah. And you have a great partner that calls you out when you need to be called out, that gives you the love and respect that you'd like to get, that you hope to get out of your partner. And YPO is another one of those, right? To be a part of YPO, if you take advantage of it, what an unfair advantage it is when you can, you can call across the country, across the globe, and get people to team up and solve problems, right? I mean, when I was going to grow nationally, I was growing my national business. That's exactly what I built, a network of the large commercial paving contractors that I knew in YPO across the country. And we formed a network, and that enabled me to grow nationally like I wouldn't have otherwise, right? Right. And so I just think that we're making an unfair advantage here with you on District CEO, because you freaking gave us so many. I should say you've given us so many nuggets of wisdom here that are awesome. And I believe that podcasts like this where we're sharing stories of success, where people have to work their ass off to get to a point in their life where they're leaders in their space, and sharing how they did that. So I mean, your story is awesome, and again, your friendship is an unfair advantage for me, and this is an unfair advantage to most of people listening to this podcast. And Chris, right, my buddy Chris, I want you to share with us and our audience what you picked up from this, the unfair advantages we picked up from having our buddy Chuck on today.
Oh man, I've just been chomping at the bit to share all the great entrepreneurial wisdom that Chuck was so gracious to share with us. All right, the first one, in life you can write your own story. I thought that was super empowering and motivating. The best way to be successful is to set the plan and be disciplined enough to work the plan. I think most people do one or the other.
Yep.
Who but your best friends can help you see your blind spots? I really am gonna start asking my friends more directly to be like, hey, here's my plan. What am I missing? What do you see in my life that are glaring blind spots that Chuck even mentioned could ruin your life, not even just your business. So I think that's super important. A leader's role is to walk the talk. I think we're all, very disappointed when we see our leaders kind of like doing something different than what they say. A lot of politicians come to mind.
Yeah.
And then invest a small amount in a lot of deals. That seems to have served you incredibly well, Chuck, kind of diversifying your investments. And the last and most important one to me, and actually I'm going to try and sneak in a question related to it as well. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That's going to be the title of this episode, because that's incredible. And if I can be so bold to sneak in a question, can you shed any light or advice on how to meet more quality friends to improve your future, Chuck?
That's a great question. So I firmly believe you get what you give, Chris. And early on in the business, I knew I needed a forum type setting. At that time, I didn't know to define it as a forum, but I knew I'm not usually the smartest one in the room. Gary and I talked about that from an education perspective. But I knew that if I could find the right friends that are truly friends, that are willing to be transparent, they're willing to be vulnerable, and be giving, like I try to be. There's a lot to. I love the golden nugget, Gary. I think every relationship brings those moments of golden nuggets, like the list you've just put together. And I think you have to be curious in life. I think you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zones and enter groups like YPO, or it might be a church group, it might be a Bible study group, it might be, the list could go on and on. I did triathlons for a while, and I found some incredible friends when I was training for triathlons, and but most importantly, I think it's about alignment of values, right? Are you hanging out with people that share values that are at least similar to yours? And are you willing to be vulnerable enough to that group or that person that they really get to know you, that they really get to see where, in my case, Chuck Hall shines, and in other cases where, Chuck, you're going to fail if you continue to do this. And that takes work. It takes, it takes being vulnerable. It takes, just like a marriage, a great marriage, it's not easy. It takes work. Just like having great friends, it takes work.
Yeah, and I think I look at it as, you said basically how to, know how to focus on what you're not built for. And I believe in that. I want to know, I want to really understand what I don't know. And that's a huge world, right, for me. Yeah. And so I think if you understand what you don't know and what you're not built for, right, you can surround yourself with people that are stronger at those things, or you can bust your ass and study those things, right, one or the other. And you might find out still that you're just not built for that. But I think that's an important statement as well, right? I
think, Chris, the fact that you're asking these questions and your interest tells me there's a leader in you, right? So as a leader, I think we are responsible for helping people see, no, you didn't fail. You just figured out something you shouldn't do, probably do again, right? Or it's probably something you should probably just stay away from. Let's focusing, now that you know that, let's focus you on some things that you think you could be good at, or that you could really succeed at.
I love it. Thank you, Chuck. That was awesome, man.
So Chuck, really appreciate you being on our podcast, brother. This will be a popular one that people are going to listen to for a long time, and you're a blessing to anybody you're around, whether it's your family, your friends. I'm blessed that I'm your buddy, and I hopefully, even though you're going to be a hillbilly Nashvilleian, right, or Tennessean, whatever you call yourself, I still love you, and I'm still going to bug you to come back someday when we get this state straightened out. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I mean you personally and Molly living here, hanging out here, growing your businesses here. Okay, that's the future for you guys. So when you think about that, when you think about growing, when you think about what was it, 18-year-old? Hold on, what did we say again?
Writing my own story.
Yeah, right. When you think about that, your own story, just don't throw L and I out of it. When you write your own story, yeah, have like something that says maybe Illinois too, or maybe a little more in Illinois. All right.
Yeah, well, that's where we raise the kids. It'll always be home. Gary, Chris, I am grateful for this opportunity, and I'm humbled. This is really a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what the outcome is.
We're grateful for your friendship, brother, and thanks for give Molly a hug for me, and a kiss on the cheek. All right, no open mouth kiss because it's for me. Just a kiss on the cheek. Don't slip it. Don't be doing that. This is for me. All right, a hug, kiss on the cheek to Molly. All right.
Yeah, Chris, how many guys do you get to meet that can say "I love you, Gary"? Right, and you can get it back. It's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah,
you know what?
inspiring.
You are the type of you're the type of people I want to be around the rest of my life, bud. So Nashville, Tennessee is not going to keep us apart. All right.
No way. No way.
Thanks, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Tell Molly I said hi.
Take care.
All right. Bye now.
Thanks, Chuck.